Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with an absolutely revolting and vile performance of Bruckner. Oh, yes, they're back to celebrate this grotesque performance of the Fifth Symphony as transcribed for organ by Hansjörg Albrecht, who is like a conductor who should know better. I mean, it's disgraceful. Where do we begin? It's almost impossible to catalog the list of musical abominations perpetrated on this lovely, innocent symphony. Let's start at the beginning. How does the Fifth Symphony begin? It begins with low pizzicato basses going bum, 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 right? Well, what is the one sound that an organ cannot reproduce? Well, there's millions of sounds an organ can't reproduce. Among them, pizzicato basses. You can't even tell what pitches this thing is playing to the extent you can hear it at all. Let's face it. Then, of course, you've got the string chorale that comes in. You might think that could sound good on an organ because it's that close harmony. I mean, organs are great at chorales. I mean, that's sort of what they do, right? Except that right in like the second or third bar of it, there's an accent. Like that. To get your pulse racing, to create some suspense. Well, an organ can't really do that either, can it? No, and it doesn't. Then, of course, the chorale business comes in, which, an organ can do. I mean, anything can do. I can do it. Ooh, I have reverberation too. Listen to that. Now, if you think 10 seconds of reverberation is a plus, think again. Because as soon as the music starts moving quickly, you get mud. Absolute mud. You just don't hear the notes because there's no rhythmic articulation. Organs can't do that either. And so, Bruckner knows this. There is nothing organ-like about Bruckner's orchestration. Virtually nothing. I mean, it's beautifully suited to create sometimes the sound of chorales in a huge space. But Bruckner writes in the reverberation, ya-da-da-da-dum, ya-da-dum, bum-bum, ba-bum, ba-bum. He writes it in. So you hear it like echoing back and forth. That's part of his conception, and he scores the music accordingly. Well, what happens when you have 10 seconds of reverberation just swallowing everything up? It makes a mess out of Bruckner's scheme of dynamics, of his rhythm, of his timing between those things, because the actual amount of reverb is built into the scoring. And that all gets destroyed in this performance, which was made at the Claes organ at St. Margaret, Munich. Oh, God, what a terrible sounding thing it is. And so that's the first movement. The second movement, well, it's a slow movement. So, of course, the slower this thing goes, the better off you are, at least in terms of your ability to hear it. But it's so monotonous. Oh, my God, it's completely dreary and gray and clotted and thick and boring. And then we get the scherzo. Wait a minute, you just got to hear the timings. Timings are going to blow your mind here. The slow movement is 15 minutes and 13 seconds. The scherzo is 16 minutes and 5 seconds because the organ can't play that quickly. It's dum bum 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 bum. Remember, all three of the first, the second, and the fourth movement all begin with those pizzicati that the organ can't reproduce. And the scherzo, oh my God, he takes it at the dreariest tempo. Oh my, and as soon as it gets loud, you hear da ba da dum ba da da ba da da ba da dum. Well, you don't hear that. All you hear is like that. It's grotesque. Well, then we come to the finale. The finale with the magnificent fugue. Organs are wonderful at contrapuntal music. They can do fabulous contrapuntal things if you choose the right registration. But this isn't that kind of a fugue. It depends on orchestral color for clarity. And you need to have a somewhat drier acoustic, especially in the central part of the fugue, where it's going dum boom beep beep dum boom beep that pointillistic scoring. Because if you have too much reverberation, it all just becomes mud, syrup, mud. And then we get to the final chorale. The final chorale. The only reason that final chorale works is because Bruckner differentiates the brass timbres, the trumpets, from the trombones, from the horns, so that it doesn't just sound like a giant B-flat major chord. Otherwise, you're just going for like 3 minutes on the organ. And that's what this sounds like. You can't even tell when it ends. You can't hear the ending. I mean, when it's going da 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 da. I mean, that's barely emerging through the murk. But more than that, there's a general triple forte for like minutes on end. And it varies by the brass scoring. It varies by when the timpani play. There are ways that Bruckner creates tension and release within the general welter of sound. There's nothing like that here. Nothing. There's no sense of arrival, of climax when the chorale finally comes in. Ba da da da, bam ba da da ba. The timpani come in like this. Nothing. There's nothing there. And the very final chords, da 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 dum. Oh, there's a timpani roll. Not here. Dum bum bum bum. Timpani crescendo. Bum. No, you can't even count the number of chords there are at the end. Oh, it's an unspeakable disaster. It's horrible and it's boring and it's oh God. I mean, it's just not, no. I mean, this whole series has been like that. It's been just disgusting. And I haven't wanted to do each one of them because I would just wind up repeating myself, talking about how horrible it is. And, but for this symphony particularly, which is echt Bruckner, yeah, we've got to just call it like it is and remind you all just what a disaster this is turning out to be, which, some of you may find fascinating. I don't suggest that you don't hear it for yourself. There's a certain prurient interest in listening to something like this. I mean, it's like watching the fights at the hockey game or a traffic pileup on a highway, that kind of thing. But only once. Don't buy it, for God's sake. Try and listen to it and a bit of it and then, forget about the rest. So keep on listening, friends, to the real Bruckner Fifth, as Bruckner wrote it. Take care.